Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome Will Palmer, bassist for the legendary Angel Witch today. How you doing, Will?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. New album, Angel of Light, out on Metal Blade Records. Just a fantastic effort here, Will. You've got to be proud of this album.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not something that I would volunteer because we're not those sort of people. But yeah, I mean, secretly, I think we're quite proud of it. You know?
Now, this is the first album you put out since 2012, As Above, So Below. So you've had a little bit of a gap here.
That's right, yeah.
Are these all brand new songs or any of these holdover songs? I know two of them go back to the 80s, but how about the rest of them?
No, I mean, there's some riffs here and there that Kev sort of has, you know. It's not really that he's specifically, like, you know, looking for old riffs, but, you know, he kind of, you know, he'll write something new and I think, oh, hang on a second, I had that thing, and he'll find an old rehearsal tape or something and kind of go, it slots together quite nicely with that. So they're kind of littered around the place, but, you know, it's a new record, really, apart from those two older songs.
Very cool. Actually, the album comes out November 1st, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I said it's out. I'm trying to rush it, well, because I've heard an advance copy. I just want everybody here. Yeah. So I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Ton of great packages, too. I'm thinking back in the old days, you know, you go back to Angel Witch's debut, it was, you know, vinyl, maybe a cassette. For publicity, you've got fanzines, you know, you hope a magazine will pick it up. It's got to be so different working nowadays with everything.
Yeah, I mean, it is. With this, the whole game's changed, really, isn't there? There's a whole lot more promo you can do, which is I guess, web-based, so, you know, it's just loads and loads of it, whereas in the old days you'd have to fight for one magazine thing, and now it's just like, you know, a deluge of requests.
Yeah.
And, you know, all about, I mean, ultimately it feels like for labels, the main thing is to try and be constantly driving pre-orders online, you know, to the mail orders, you know, to the label's own mail order, and, you know, whereas I guess before it would all be like, you know, you're looking on release date to see how well you do, but kind of now we've already got a gauge on how well it's done. It's done pretty well, you know.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the way people are consuming music is via you know, direct D2C with the labels, and so you can really get a gauge if the record's viable or not. You know, even 8 weeks out before the record comes out, you can tell.
Yeah.
I've been packing records today because they let us have our own Bandcamp. So I bought some stock from them, and I've got, like, you know, 250 records I've got to be packing and sending out.
The bundles are amazing, though. The different colors of the vinyl, the T-shirts and everything that you're throwing into these bundles are fantastic. And I think it's a great thing to give to the fans, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's all, I mean, but seeing it from the other side, it's like, you know, I'm in a relatively small office here. Yeah. And all the boxes are turning up, and, you know, Metal Blade are, like, quite efficient, so they're all turning up early, but I can't send them out.
Yeah.
And so I've got the packing supplies, you know, here, and just piles of boxes everywhere, like, and the T-shirts arrived today.
Somewhat daunting.
Oh, God, man, we're going on tour. I mean, I've got less than a week, and we're going on tour.
Wow.
Next Wednesday, so I've got to get it all done by then.
But then again, if you were just sitting there and no one had ordered them and there was no packing supplies and nothing to do, you would be saying, like, well, what the hell, right?
Yeah, it'd be awful.
Now, the band, you and Kevin go back, what is it, 11 years or so that you've worked?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And Jimmy and Frederick are fairly new, correct?
That's right, yeah. Although even not that new. I mean, yes. I mean, Frederick's like, come January, he's going to be in the band 3 years.
Okay.
But he's still a new boy, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think Jim's been around since 2015.
Okay. So there's a bit of a cohesiveness then.
Oh, God, yeah.
You've all known each other.
Never been like this before.
Yeah.
You know, it's a gang, you know.
Yeah. Recorded the album at the Station House in Leeds, working with James Atkinson as a producer. He done Gentleman's Pistol and Voorhees. Were these all names and places? What's that?
He's in the Gentleman's Pistol.
He's in Gentleman's Pistol.
He's the main guy.
Okay.
So he's the songwriter. And like the guitarist and vocalist, doesn't do all the solos because Bill Steer also plays the drums, so he does the lion's share of the leads.
Okay.
But it's James's band, and he's great. You know, I mean, this is kind of why we went with him. I knew him because we signed the Gentleman's Pistols at Rise Above like 10 years ago or whatever it was, and you've got a guy who's got a good studio, a really good ear. He's a good engineer. He's a great guitar player. He's a great singer. And he's, I mean, that's a producer, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I don't think he's ever really sold himself as being that. But he's, you know, you've got a guy. He's into all the same sort of 70s heavy bands that we like, which is the stuff that influenced that first Angel Witch record. You know, he's into Angel Witch, you know, he can play guitar great, and he can sing great, and he can write songs great. So he's quite good at cutting things out of songs. You know, I think you're going a bit too far there. Not that he really actually had to do that with our record, but we knew it in the back of our mind that he might get the scissors to us, you know, so we kind of kept things a little bit, even though the songs aren't super short, they kind of don't sound as long as they are, a lot of them, you know. And I think that's because we knew that he would take the scalpel to those songs if there was a problem, you know.
Right.
And, yeah, it's great.
First single you released was "Don't Turn Your Back," correct?
Yeah, man.
And
That's right.
that went back to a track that was only played live like back in the 80s, correct?
Yeah, like 1984, I think. Kev reckons they only played it like once or twice.
Yeah.
And we heard this live tape, this kid from Finland. So we went and did these demos in January up at the station house with James.
Okay.
And we posted some pictures on Facebook or whatever, and this guy's like, "Oh, I hope you're going to re-record The Night Is Calling and Don't Turn Your Back." And, well, The Night Is Calling we were already going to do. That's been on our live set since 2009.
Yeah.
We love it. You know, we always play it. And we just thought we need to record it. And I thought, well, I've never heard Don't Turn Your Back. So I got him to send me the MP3, and it's like really... It's actually from one of Kevin's original tapes.
Wow.
It's ended up as a bootleg. The band completely falls apart in the song. You can't make out any of the words, you know, but it was just really infectious.
Yeah.
And so we started working on Kev, basically. Kev, this song is like, oh no, I don't think that's got much got much merit, you know.
Yeah.
Which is what he said about Dead Sea Scrolls on the last album, funnily enough. And so what we kind of did is, like, you know, Frederick kind of learned the track, and then when we were in the studio, like, we just said, well, let's have a little go at it, you know. And then you've got Kev's guitar and the drums, and it sounds quite tight. And they go, oh, well, let's go for a take. And then we went for a take, and the drums were down then. And then it's just this kind of process of like, well, you know, we've only got like an hour left today, so we can't really get stuck into the next song. So why don't you try and track some rhythms on Don't Turn Back, see what they sound like? You know?
Yeah.
And then before you know it, everyone's like, yeah, this kind of sounds quite good, you know. And then we couldn't work what the lyrics were, so me and Jim sort of we grabbed a little bit of what was clear. It was about 3 or 4 lines.
Yeah.
In the whole song, and then we rewrote the lyrics ourselves.
Nice.
We'd seen a film the night before called The Love Witch, which is kind of great. It was sort of like a culty. It's a modern film, but it's sort of like a pastiche of like late 60s kind of a cult movie or something.
Yeah.
And we wrote it about that loosely. And then it was just done, you know. And fucking hell, first track on the record and first single.
Nice. And you'd already chosen The Night Is Calling to record as well, and that came off like a bootleg or something, right?
Yeah, that was on it's a record that came out called like Sinister History. It was like a kind of semi-official bootleg, really.
Okay.
I think Kevin was somehow involved. You know, I think that, you know, basically it's one of those ones where someone gave them $500 or something. And so that's been around, yeah. And it's a killer track. I wanted to do it on the last record.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of glad we waited. And like I said, we always play it live, and it just always goes down really well for a song that people don't like know.
Yeah. That was probably my favorite track on the album. I just thought it was incredibly atmospheric. I loved the track.
Have you ever heard the version of that Leif Edling did in his band before Candlemas?
No, I haven't. I'll have to check it.
He sort of covered it with different lyrics and shit.
Oh, cool.
Amazing. Yeah, it's called Good Night by Nemesis. You can find it on YouTube or whatever. I mean, it's just like him singing it, and just like, you know, I think he's playing like all the instruments except for the drums or something.
Yeah. Nice.
So it's very basic pre-Candlemass material, but kind of almost sounds like a song he would write as well.
Yeah. Kevin, I read that Kevin used the same amp head that he used on the debut album on this album.
I'm not sure if it is actually the one on the debut, but it's one of the ones that he had around that point.
Yeah.
It was one of his 1980s amps, and if it's not exactly the same amp head, it's what, because I think he had like 4. Because that's what bands did then.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he's just like, look, this is my sound, guys. You know what I mean? Like, the last album, he brought it into the studio, and the guy that produced it didn't want him to use it, so he just sat there on the floor next to him while he was tracking through his JCM 800, and the guitar sound isn't very good. And so he was just like, well, I insist that we use my amp, and we thought there was a little bit of like, oh, is this Kev trying to be like, you know, just wanting to be heard, just wanting to have his opinion, you know?
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, yeah, you know, let's try that, because we were going to try every amp in the studio anyway until we arrived at a sound. So, you know, this was one more in the queue. And he just plugged in, and it's, you know, like 3 chords in, and I was like, oh, well, he's right all along. You know, I suppose when it comes to matters of his own guitar sound, he's the authority.
Right, he would know.
Yeah, and it was like, it was just not a struggle getting tones for those rhythm guitars on that record.
Yeah.
It was just, you plug in, oh yeah, that sounds like you then. Okay, fine, let's go.
Yeah. Made a couple of notes on a few songs as I was listening through I wanted to ask you about, and I'm hoping I'm going to pronounce this first one right. Is it Death from Andromeda?
Yes.
I had a note here, nice maiden gallop to it, great track, nice sci-fi, obviously a sci-fi type song. How did that come about?
Well, that's, I think this Kev really devoured those books by Michael Crichton in the 70s when he was a teenager. Death from Andromeda, the Andromeda Strains one, A for Andromeda was another one, but I guess the song's written more about Death from Andromeda. More about the Andromeda Strain.
Yeah.
I mean, he just, you know, came in with these riffs, and I mean, you think, well, where the hell did that come from? And it's got that kind of sci-fi vibe to it, you know, with those unison bends in the chorus that kind of echo the vocal line of the chorus.
Yeah.
And that kind of extended outro with these harmonies, and I mean, certainly you said it had a Maiden vibe, and I can certainly attest that there's some galloping on that bass that doesn't let up for the whole bloody song, and that was the only bit that I had a crisis in the studio. Just trying to keep it, you know, you obviously want to try and keep it tight, you know.
Right.
And, you know, there isn't a single drum edit on this record, so all the drums are played live.
Wow, nice.
Which meant that then there becomes this matter of bravado that everybody else wants to get their stuff down in as little takes as possible, you know. Mm-hmm. So it just becomes this awful, you know, self-flagellation where we could have done it a lot easier if we'd have just cut and pasted in Pro Tools.
Yeah.
But, you know, you just refuse to. So that was the song where I was just thinking, like, I wish we could just, you know, do a bar of gallop and copy it across. But, yeah, alas, this is not the way we've done the record. So one of my favourites, we filmed a video for this.
Oh, nice.
Which I haven't spoken to anyone about, actually. But we did it last week. I live in Brighton.
Right.
So everyone came to Brighton. Frederick was over from Sweden and that, and we rehearsed. The office I'm in, I rent a desk in an office, and they've got a rehearsal studio here, so we were rehearsing up there in Small Pond.
Yeah.
And we did 2 days of that, and then we did a day of video filming, but then there was another day where we had people like painted blue and all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, we've gone for full 1970s sci-fi, kind of quite camp. We didn't want to make it too funny. We didn't want to make it look like, you know, a lot of that stuff like Blake Seven and Doctor Who and that, it comes across in the end being a little bit comedic, but you know, they were all just trying to do the best thing they could do at the time.
Right.
So the video crew decided they were going to try and make the best sci-fi that they could make in the 1970s. So yeah, we've got, you know, models suspended on string in front of like space backgrounds and stuff.
Nice.
You know, it's actually pretty cool. And it should all be finally edited and out this time next week in time for the album release.
Awesome. I look forward to seeing that.
So yeah, but no one, and like I say, I haven't discussed that with anybody because I'm cutting it fine, and I was just thinking, oh, if this thing doesn't come out, but you know, I've seen an edit now.
I appreciate you giving me the exclusive then.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. Well, you know, I mean, that's just luck, more luck than judgment, really.
Another track that I really liked was Condemned. And
Yes.
the only way I can describe this is I remember the first time I put on the Black Sabbath album, Heaven and Hell, I heard Neon Nights, and that feeling that came over me, that power in that music. I felt that same power when Condemned came on.
Wow. Well, that's,
you
I
know?
mean, that's like ridiculous praise. Oh, I'm taking it as praise.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's what I mean it as. It was just, I'm like, I haven't had this sort of feeling in a song, you know, since then. And it just took me back to that time.
Wow.
And you know, to me, anytime a song can take you to a different place, it's special, you know? And that's what I got with this song. Can you tell me a little bit about Condemned?
Well, I mean, you know, again, it's just this backlog of riffs that Kev's got. I think, you know, that main riff, the verse riff, is an old one.
Yeah.
And then there was like a clean intro, and we were messing around with it, but like Kev's like, no, I think we need to use those same chords, but just like play it heavy.
Yeah.
And then suddenly this big doom thing appears, and you're like, that is kind of heavy. That's really heavy. That is.
Yeah.
And then it kind of kicks into that main riff, and you know, Frederick does that kind of out of order drum fill that's kind of like Over the Mountain or something.
Yeah.
If you remember that by Ozzy.
Yeah.
And it does have that, I guess it has that era about it, that sort of 1981, 81 thing.
Yeah.
And it's just a huge track, isn't it? I remember when we demoed it, and we were listening to it back in the control room, and it wasn't the demo time. It was after Kevin had put down the first pass of rough vocals in the studio, and Atco, the producer, was just like, "Yeah, that's a hit, that."
Yeah.
You know? In this understated sort of northern way, as he's going off to make us all a cup of tea or something, and it was just like, "Yeah, well, this is definitely the first track we're going to put out," you know. And then, of course, Don't Turn Me Back came along, and it's like, well, actually, no, I think that's probably it.
Yeah.
That was the happy accident of the record, but we always kind of knew Condemned was good from the rehearsal days.
Yeah.
Although Kev hadn't written the lyrics till about a week before we went in, and he was like tying himself up in knots, you know, because the pressure was on. We demoed it instrumentally. There was like half a verse or something, you know.
Yeah.
And he's at home, you know, like trying to record vocals over that demo and sending us MP3s over, different lyrics, different melodies, all that. Like, we're trying to offer input when you can't do that when someone's in that, when they feel that they're up against the wall.
Yeah.
So we were sort of feeling his pain by proxy and just trying to like tell him that it was going to be good. And he's not having any of it. You write them, you know, look, you know, and then suddenly he just hit this thing. We're like, there you go. I told you, that's quite good, isn't it? And he's like, oh yeah. We told you you'd get there.
Sort of all clicks. Yeah.
Yeah, because you know, I think you need a bit of the fear to get things done. But it ain't no fun when you're in it.
Yeah, definitely not.
And you know, and we can't really do it for him. I mean, he's allowed us in a lot more on this record. I mean, you know, like I say, me and Jim wrote a lot of those lyrics in Don't Turn You Back. Me and Atco kind of got involved a bit with that, with Andromeda, and I Am Infamy, and a little bit on Angel of Light, but not really worthy of a credit, just a word here and there. Right. I think, you know, Kev knows that he's not surrounded by glory hunters. Like, everybody's just trying to basically make the best record for the band, for the legacy. Really, it's all about the legacy of the band,
right?
And about what the listener's going to get at the other end. So I think once he understood that it wasn't just like, you know, well, I think I should play a guitar solo there or whatever, or me like, I want to write the lyrics because I want some publishing money or something, you know, that like that once there was a trust there, he was able to let us in. So it was a little bit more collaborative, but still 90% Kev, you know.
Right. Okay. Speaking of I Am Infamy, that was the last track I had a question for. I mean, I could literally ask you questions about every song, but then we'd be talking for an hour. But I Am Infamy, what struck me in that track was, you know, you talked about your bass work in Andromeda. As I'm listening to the I Am Infamy, I'm thinking, man, Frederick and Will are really getting a workout in this song.
Yeah, I know. He tortured us with that song. The thing with that one as well, though, a lot of the other songs on the record, Kev Kevin puts them together at home. He does drum programming and stuff, and we get relatively fully formed songs. They're about 80% there, and then it's just a matter of orchestration. But with this one, there was he had a riff, and then there was other bits and pieces, but we did actually put it together in the rehearsal room a little bit more than anything else on the record. So there's a lot more of our personality maybe in that one.
Yeah.
I also think, it's like the wild card track of the record. It's like, it completely sounds like Android, but also sort of doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And there is that crazy intro where the bass playing actually is a nightmare.
Yeah.
And then Frederick we let him off the hook a little bit, let him off the leash, and then he got those extra bits at the end where he's playing extra floor tom overdubs with felt beaters, kind of like I guess like Children of the Grave or something like that was the idea of that, and it's kind of quite Sabbathy in it. There's bits of Kevin. There's a bass line at the end that Kev thinks sounds like Pink Floyd, but Jim thinks sounds like Hawkwind, and I'm happy with either.
Right. Yeah.
And so that was the most jammy song out of all of them.
Definitely.
Which is probably why it's like if they give you, if you're going to get given a chance to make something up, you're going to go for the Flash option, aren't you?
Yeah. My apologies on my dog interrupting us there. Right. Somebody just knocked on the door, but I'm going to ignore him.
Okay.
This is good. It's all good. But yeah, I mean, that track was, I agree with everything. I could hear everything you were saying fine, despite her barking.
That's good.
Yeah, good stuff. You were talking touring there. What are the touring plans once the album comes out?
Well, we're off to Germany next week for a little run there, and then we're going to be going out doing one of these boat trips that they do between Denmark and Norway, which is going to be brutal because it's like November in the North Sea. But that's the Copenhagen boat, and they run a great festival, Copenhagen in Denmark. Merciful Fate are headlining it this year and stuff. So want to do a good job for them because you never know.
Yeah.
And then we're going to Greece in December. And then next year we're just looking for festival offers, and we'll probably go on the road around Europe again in say March time. And then we're probably going to go do some Canadian dates. The US isn't really, unfortunately, on our radar due to this and that. And so I don't really see that happening. But we're going to try and play a lot in Canada in hope that people can just sort of nip across and see us, if they live anywhere near.
Yeah.
Such a culture in Europe, people just jump in on a plane and go into Sweden to watch a show.
Definitely. And I'm not all that far from Montreal, actually. I'm just a couple hours south of Montreal. I agree. You go up there, it's a total European vibe. It's very, very different. Yeah. Very cool.
And hopefully, people will be able to see us if we can get a lot of Canadian stuff happening. We played in Montreal before, actually, and it was insane.
Yeah.
We've done 2 shows in Canada. We played in Toronto as well, and that was also insane.
Yeah.
So we want to go back. But the problem with playing 2 shows that completely mad is that you go back because you want it to be super. I'll go back to Toronto because it's going to be wild, and then you go back and it isn't. You get really disappointed.
Yeah, you think, what did we do wrong?
Well, it's one of those things we've been talking about the album a lot. We're also happy with the record, and we're also happy with the recording process and just the fun that we had. We rented a house up in Leeds, and we were just watching horror movies every night.
Nice.
I Am Infamy, by the way, is about a movie called Fear of Blood. It's got Vincent Price in it. It's something we watched when we were up there.
I'll have to check. Fear of Blood is the name of it?
Theatre of Blood.
Okay.
So we're watching all these sort of films and Tales of the Unexpected and all this sort of stuff and creaky old sci-fi nonsense, and and just sort of a weird little sort of odd little family that we became for 3 weeks, and it was just a great time. But all we really want to do is write some songs so we can go back to the studio and do it again, but you just know that you go out there again, it's not going to be the same experience.
Right.
The world doesn't work like that, so let's not think about writing any new songs. Let's not think about getting struck because we just all want to go back to Leeds.
Right.
Let's just see what life throws at us and see how we feel in 2 years.
Very cool.
And that's probably the same thing about wanting to go back to play Montreal or whatever, because it's if we go back there and it wasn't as insane as it was when we played Wings of Metal, we're all going to feel devastated.
Right. Yep, I hear you. Definitely. The one thing I meant to ask back in the beginning, but I'll ask it now, that what really struck me too was the cover art of the album for Angel of Light. Where did that come from?
Well, that's a guy called Adam Burke. He's a really good guy, a really good artist. He'd done some stuff for me, for my label. He did stuff for this band called Spell, who are from Vancouver. But he's worked with loads of other people. He did Saints of Tears, 7-inch Sleeve for me. He's done Uncle Acid. He's done Necromandus. He's done, he's this cool painter, And so I just thought, well, look, here's the lyrics to the song. Off you go.
Yeah.
And he's a fan of the band, so he gets it. We wanted it to look like an Angel Witch cover, but we didn't want it to look like, we didn't say to him, rip off the first album or anything,
Yeah.
We would have been happy for it to be a completely different colour scheme or whatever. And, he just delivered, that's that, and it all just seems to work very well.
Very cool.
And we were really happy with it, and, I tell you, as much as I'm sick of the sight of the LPs at the moment, because that's all I'm doing is putting them into cardboard, it turned out really good.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, look, when it first arrived, you're like, oh, this is amazing. Actually seeing it pressed.
Right.
It blows your mind. But yeah, look, when you're trying to pack 20 an hour,
you get sick of it. Oh, I've been talking with Will Palmer, bassist for Angel Witch, here on Let's Discuss with Lance Hall, their new album Angel of Light, coming out November 1st on Metal Blade Records. Will, I always like to wind my interviews up with what I call my fun questions. I'm hoping these are questions you've never been asked before. Sound good?
Yeah, well, I don't know, do I? We'll see.
Okay. How do you like your eggs cooked?
I don't eat any dairy products.
Don't eat any dairy. Okay.
But if I was to have eggs, they would be poached. That's what I used to like. But now, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I just don't. I don't eat meat or dairy. But you do miss. There ain't no good fake eggs. That's all I've got to tell you.
There you go.
So don't even try.
Okay. Favorite toy growing up as a child?
Millennium Falcon.
Okay.
Yeah, hands down. And I had a hand solo blaster as well. I loved that.
All right. Excellent. Given your choice of household chores, would you rather do the dishes or the laundry?
Well, I do the dishes.
You do the dishes.
And I'm really pedantic about it. In fact, when we were in Leeds, like I say, we were up there for like 3 weeks. I was cooking every night. I wouldn't let anyone cook because it's like I was winding down. That's what I do.
Right.
And then they tried to wash up once, and I just wouldn't even let them anymore. Because I didn't stack it right.
Okay. All right. A little bit of OCD going on there, yeah?
Well, this kitchen's my domain, mate.
All right. Favorite class in school?
I left school at 14.
Okay.
I didn't like school. I liked reading and stuff. I mean, it would have been English literature.
Okay.
First, I just didn't like the actual act of being in school.
Okay. First car you bought with your own money?
First what?
Car, automobile.
Oh, no, I don't drive.
You don't drive? Okay.
See, I'm from London, so, you just don't need to.
Okay.
I moved to Brighton 4 years ago, and I think, I wouldn't mind having a car now, but, I'm in my 40s. I just don't think I could get behind the wheel of a car.
Okay. This is the one we have the most fun with, and I was asking this long before all those biopics came out. If they were to make a movie of your life, what actor would you have play you in the movie?
Well, he's not an actor, but it'd probably be Ed Sheeran, just because it's apparently that's who I look like. I don't take it as a compliment.
Okay.
I don't particularly take it as an insult. He has acted. He was in Game of Thrones.
Okay.
So he can play me.
Oh, there you go. Last question, Will. What makes a great bass player?
Knowing that it's not about you. It's the most important thing. You're not the drums, and you're not the guitar. You're the glue between them, and that's where you live.
Okay.
And if you want to overplay, then be a guitarist. Right. Certainly in a heavy rock band. If you're in like a jazz fusion band, it can be about you.
Right.
But we're not. I listen to heavy metal music, and the whole thing is Geezer Butler, he does a lot of walking bass parts and he's very busy, but it's always about adding weight to those riffs. It's always a supportive role. That's what it has to be.
Okay. Great answer. Once again, we've chatted with Will Palmer today, bass player for Angel Witch, the new album Angel of Light, coming out November 1st on Metal Blade. Will, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, cool. It was great. I'm glad we got it done in the end, eh?
Absolutely. It was definitely well worth the wait. And good luck. Safe travels out on the tour, and good luck packing those albums.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah. Thanks. I'll get back to the cellar now. Yeah.
All right. Take care, Will. Thank you very much.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.